First contact. In the vast expanse of the cosmos, two figures huddled over a holographic display, their elongated fingers dancing across shimmering controls. Zix, a senior xenobiologist of the Galactic Confederation's scout ship, Starbringer, turned all four of his eyes towards his colleague. "Krell, are you seeing this?" Zix's voice was a melodious whisper, a stark contrast to the excitement coursing through his bioluminescent veins. Krell, the ship's anthropologist, leaned in closer, his antenna twitching with curiosity. "Impossible," he muttered, his usually stoic demeanor cracking under the weight of their discovery. Before them, projected in stunning detail, was a blue-green orb suspended in the inky blackness of space, Earth as its inhabitants called it, or Sol 3 in the Galactic Confederation's catalog of potentially habitable worlds. A Class 13 Deathworld, Zix continued, his voice tinged with awe and a hint of fear. And yet it teems with life," Krell finished, his eyes widening as he zoomed in on the planet's surface. "Intelligent life, no less." The two alien researchers had stumbled upon Earth quite by accident. Their mission was a routine survey of the Sol system, expected to be nothing more than an update to the Confederation's vast database of uninhabited worlds. Instead, they had found something that defied all logic and expectations. As they observed, the holographic display shifted, showing them glimpses of Earth's varied environments. Scorching deserts, freezing tundras, dense jungles, and storm-tossed seas flashed before their eyes. "By the great void," Zix breathed, "how can any species survive, let alone thrive, in such hostile conditions?" Krell's antenna twitched again, this time in concentration. "Perhaps they don't. Maybe each region has evolved its own distinct intelligent species, adapted to its particular challenges." But as they watched, their hypothesis crumbled. They saw the same bipedal creatures, humans, not just surviving but flourishing in every corner of the planet. "Look there," Zix pointed a long, slender finger at the display. "In that frozen wasteland." The image zoomed in on a group of humans trudging across a vast ice sheet, bundled in thick furs, pulling sleds loaded with equipment. "And here," Krell countered, directing their view to a sun-baked desert. "The same species, adapting to heat that would boil the blood of most known sentient races." Their amazement grew as they observed humans scaling sheer cliff faces, diving into the ocean's depths, and even hurling themselves out of flying machines to plummet through the air before unfurling fabric canopies to slow their descent. "They seek out danger," Zix noted, his voice a mix of horror and fascination. "They challenge their environment, push against the very limits of survival." "Why?" Krell's response was interrupted by a sudden alert from their ship's sensors. "Zix, look at this. Some sort of massive energy discharge on the planet's surface." They focused their attention on a new area, a sprawling metropolis of gleaming structures reaching towards the sky. In the heart of the city, a building was engulfed in flames, black smoke billowing into the air. "Surely they'll evacuate," Zix said, expecting to see the humans flee from the danger. But once again, the humans defied expectations. Instead of running away, they saw figures rushing towards the burning building. Vehicles with flashing lights and wailing sirens converged on the scene. They're going into the fire," Krell said in disbelief. They watched, transfixed, as humans clad in protective gear battled the inferno, working tirelessly to extinguish the flames and rescue those trapped inside. Hour after hour, the humans fought against the blaze, refusing to yield even as exhaustion clearly set in. "Such determination," Zix murmured. "Such disregard for personal safety in the face of collective danger." As the fire finally died down, leaving behind a charred husk of a building, the two alien observers sat in stunned silence. "Krell," Zix said finally, "I believe we've stumbled upon something extraordinary here. These humans, they're unlike anything in our records." Krell nodded slowly, his mind racing with the implications of their discovery. "We need to study them further, understand what drives them, what makes them so adaptable, so resilient." Agreed, Zix replied, already adjusting their ship's cloaking systems to allow for closer observation. But we must be cautious. If these humans can thrive in such hostile conditions, who knows what they're capable of if they detect our presence? As the Starbringer descended into Earth's atmosphere, its advanced stealth systems rendering it invisible to human detection, Zix and Krell prepared themselves for the most important mission of their careers. Little did they know, their observations were about to take an even more unexpected turn, one that would challenge everything they thought they knew about life in the universe. The alien researchers settled in for long-term observation, their excitement tempered by a growing sense of unease. They had come seeking new data for the Galactic Confederation's archives. Instead, they found themselves witness to a species that seemed to defy the very laws of nature as they understood them. As Earth's sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the planet's varied landscapes, Zix and Krell exchanged a look of determination. Whatever secrets this Deathworld and its inhabitants held, they were committed to unraveling them. The fate of future interactions between their civilizations might very well depend on it. Part 2. The Unthinkable Challenge. Dr. Samantha Reeves stood at the podium, her heart racing, but her voice steady as she addressed the United Nations General Assembly. At 35, she was young for a leading expert in xenobiology and astrobiology, but her brilliance and unwavering dedication had propelled her to the forefront of her field. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her piercing green eyes scanning the room, "we stand at the precipice of the greatest challenge humanity has ever faced." The assembly hall fell silent, all eyes fixed on the charismatic scientist. In the week since the world's greatest telescopes had detected an anomaly at the edge of our solar system, Dr. Reeves had become the face of Earth's response team. "The object we've detected is not natural. Its movements, its composition, everything about it screams artificial. We are not alone in the universe, and our new neighbors are knocking on our door." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Fear, excitement, disbelief, all were palpable in the charged atmosphere. "But we mustn't let fear guide our actions," Samantha continued, her voice gaining strength. "This is an opportunity, a chance to show the best of humanity, to reach out across the stars and forge a new future for our species." As she spoke, little did she know that high above the Earth, Zix and Krell were watching with intense interest. "Fascinating," Zix murmured, his 4 eyes blinking in rapid succession. "They've detected the probe we sent ahead." Krell's antenna twitched nervously. "This complicates matters. We were supposed to observe, not interact." "Perhaps," Zix replied, a note of excitement in his voice. "But think of the data we could gather from direct interaction. We've seen how they handle natural challenges. Now we can test their response to an engineered crisis." Back on Earth, Dr. Reeves was concluding her speech. "We have formed an international task force combining the greatest minds from every nation. Together, we will prepare for first contact, for whatever challenges or opportunities it may bring. Humanity has always thrived in the face of the unknown. This will be our finest hour." As applause erupted in the assembly hall, Zix and Krell made their decision. They would push humanity to its limits, test its resolve in ways they had never imagined possible. Over the next few days, strange phenomena began to occur across the globe. Massive gravitational fluctuations caused tides to shift unpredictably. Electromagnetic pulses disrupted communications and power grids. Localized weather patterns spun out of control, bringing snow to the Sahara and heat waves to Siberia. The world teetered on the brink of chaos, but humanity rallied. Dr. Reeves and her team worked tirelessly, coordinating global efforts to understand and counteract the anomalies. "It's them," Samantha announced in an emergency broadcast. "The aliens are testing us, pushing us to our limits, but we will not break. We will show them the true strength of humanity." Her words sparked a global movement. Instead of descending into panic and disorder, people across the world came together. Scientists shared breakthroughs freely across borders. Engineers worked around the clock to fortify infrastructure, Ordinary citizens organized support networks, ensuring that no one was left behind in the face of the escalating crisis. Zix and Krell watched in amazement as humans adapted to each new challenge they threw at them. Gravitational fluctuations. Humans developed new navigation systems and predictive models for tidal shifts. Electromagnetic disruptions. They created localized, shielded communication networks and decentralized power grids. Incredible, Krell breathed, watching as humans in environmental suits worked to redirect a lava flow threatening a city. Their technology is primitive compared to ours, but their ingenuity. It's not just their technology, Zix added, zooming in on a group of volunteers distributing supplies in a storm-ravaged area. Look at how they come together, how they support each other. It's as if the entire species functions as a single adaptive organism. As the aliens ratcheted up the intensity of their tests, Dr. Reeves and her team made a breakthrough. They detected a pattern in the anomalies, a signature that pointed to their extraterrestrial origin. "We can track them," Samantha announced to her team, her eyes alight with determination. "Better yet, we might be able to communicate." In a bold move that surprised even Zix and Krell, the humans began to fight back. Not with weapons, but with signals. Complex mathematical sequences broadcast directly at the source of the anomalies. "They're solving our equations," Krell said, his voice filled with disbelief. "Not just replicating them, but expanding on them, extrapolating new principles." Zix's bioluminescence flickered rapidly, a sign of intense excitement in his species. "This changes everything. We need to reevaluate our entire approach." But before they could react, a new message came through. This time, it wasn't just mathematics. It was an invitation. Dr. Samantha Reeves' face appeared on their view screen, her expression a mix of determination and hope. "To our extraterrestrial visitors," she began, her voice clear and unwavering. "We know you're out there. We've felt your tests, your challenges. We've endured, we've adapted, and now we extend our hand in friendship. It's time we meet, face to face. We are ready." Zix and Krell exchanged looks of shock and admiration. This was unprecedented. In all their years of observation, no species had ever turned the tables on them so completely. As they debated their next move, one thing became clear. Their mission had veered far off course, into uncharted territory. The humans of Earth were not just subjects of study anymore. They were potential equals, maybe even future allies. The question now was, were Zix, Krell, and the galactic confederation they represented ready for what came next? Defying expectations, the tension aboard the Starbringer was palpable. Zix and Krell had spent the last several Earth rotations in deep discussion, their debate punctuated by frequent glances at the holographic displays showing the ongoing human response to their tests. "We've gone too far," Krell insisted, his antenna drooping with worry. "Direct contact was never part of our mission parameters. We should withdraw, report our findings to the Confederation, and let them decide the next steps." Zix, however, was of a different mind. His 4 eyes gleamed with an excitement that bordered on obsession. "But don't you see, Krell? This is an unprecedented opportunity. No species we've ever encountered has responded like this. The humans aren't just reacting to our tests. They're learning from them, adapting, pushing back. We're on the cusp of something extraordinary." As if to underscore Zix's point, a new alert chimed from their sensor array. On the main view screen, a massive structure began to take shape in Earth's orbit. It was crude by Confederation standards, but the speed at which it had been assembled was nothing short of remarkable. "Is that a space station?" Krell asked, his scientific curiosity momentarily overriding his caution. Zix nodded, his bioluminescence pulsing with excitement. "They've repurposed existing satellites and launched new modules. Look at the energy readings. It's not just an observation platform. They're building some kind of transmission array." Down on Earth, Dr. Samantha Reeves stood in the newly constructed Global Response Center, a sprawling complex that had sprung up almost overnight in a previously undeveloped area of the Gobi Desert. Around her, screens flickered with data streams from every corner of the globe, while scientists and engineers from dozens of nations worked in seamless cooperation. "Status report," Samantha called out, her voice carrying over the hum of activity. A young astrophysicist, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, looked up from her station. "The Harmony Array is online, Dr. Reeves. We're ready to broadcast on all spectrums." Samantha nodded, allowing herself a small smile. The Harmony Array, part communication device, part scientific instrument, part olive branch, represented the culmination of humanity's response to the alien presence. It was a testament to what they could achieve when united by a common purpose. "Initiate the broadcast," Samantha ordered, her heart racing with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. As the Harmony Array sprang to life, its message radiating out into space, Zix and Krell found themselves faced with a decision that would alter the course of galactic history. "They're hailing us directly," Krell said, his voice a mix of awe and fear. "The signal. It's not just mathematical concepts anymore. They're transmitting language constructs, cultural information. It's an invitation to dialogue." Zix was already moving towards the ship's communication array. "Then we must answer." "Krell, ready the translation matrices. It's time we introduced ourselves properly." "But the protocols." Krell began to protest, only to be cut off by a sharp gesture from Zix. "Protocols be damned," Zix said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "We're in uncharted territory now. Sometimes, my friend, we must adapt our methods to the situation at hand. Isn't that what these humans have been teaching us all along?" As the aliens prepared their response, the atmosphere in the Global Response Center was electric. Dr. Reeves stood at the center of it all, her eyes fixed on the main display, waiting for any sign of a response. Suddenly, the screens flickered, and a new signal appeared. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. Complex, multidimensional, carrying information on levels humans had only theorized about. "We're receiving a response," Dr. Tanaka shouted, her fingers flying over her keyboard. It's incredible. The amount of data. It'll take weeks to fully decode." But even as the computers began to process the alien transmission, something unexpected happened. The holographic projectors, hastily installed throughout the center, sprang to life. And there, standing before the stunned human assembly, were two figures that defied easy description. Zix and Krell had decided to take a leap of faith, transmitting not just data, but a full holographic representation of themselves. In the Global Response Center, humans gasped and murmured at the sight of the aliens. Zix with his 4 eyes and bioluminescent skin, Krell with his twitching antennae and elongated limbs. Dr. Samantha Reeves stepped forward, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "On behalf of humanity, I welcome you to Earth. I am Dr. Samantha Reeves, lead scientist of our Global Response Team." The alien holograms flickered slightly before Zix spoke, his words translated in real time. "Greetings, Dr. Reeves and people of Earth. I am Zix, xenobiologist of the Galactic Confederation, and this is my colleague, Krell, our anthropologist. We must confess, we have been observing your planet for some time." A ripple of shock went through the assembled humans, but Samantha maintained her composure. "We suspected as much. The challenges we faced recently, they were your doing, weren't they?" Krell nodded, his antennae drooping slightly in what seemed like embarrassment. "Yes, we wanted to study your responses, but you have surprised us at every turn." "Surprised you?" Samantha asked, a hint of steel entering her voice. "Millions have suffered due to your tests. Lives have been lost, communities destroyed. Was this all just an experiment to you?" The aliens exchanged a look that seemed to convey discomfort. Zix spoke again, his tone apologetic. We didn't anticipate the full impact of our actions. In our defense, we've never encountered a species quite like yours. Your resilience, your adaptability. It's unprecedented. Dr. Yuki Tanaka stepped forward, her eyes blazing with a mix of scientific curiosity and indignation. You call yourselves scientists, yet you interfered with an entire planet's ecosystem without considering the consequences. What kind of ethical standards does your confederation operate on? The question seemed to catch the aliens off guard. Krell's antennae twitched rapidly, a sign of distress. Our methods, they have always been considered acceptable in our studies of less developed worlds. But you're right, we've never faced a situation quite like this before. Samantha raised a hand, calling for calm. What's done is done. The question now is, where do we go from here? You've observed us, tested us. What are your intentions towards Earth and humanity? Zix and Krell exchanged another look before Zix answered. Truthfully, we're not sure. Our original mission was simply to observe and report back to the Confederation. But your responses, your achievements in the face of our challenges, they forced us to reconsider everything. Reconsider what, exactly? Samantha pressed. Your place in the galactic community, Krell replied. We've seen countless species, Dr. Reeves, but none that have shown the potential that humanity has demonstrated. The speed of your technological advancement, your ability to unite in the face of adversity, it's remarkable. A murmur of pride rippled through the humans in the room, but Samantha remained focused. And what does that mean for us? Are we to be welcomed into this galactic confederation of yours? Or are we still just subjects for study? Zix's bioluminescence pulsed rapidly, a sign of intense thought. That is not a decision we can make alone. The Confederation has strict protocols for contact with new species. But perhaps we can arrange a meeting. A formal introduction between your leaders and ours. The implications of this statement were staggering. Humanity, on the brink of official first contact with an advanced alien civilization. The room erupted in excited chatter, but Samantha raised her voice to be heard over the din. We would welcome such a meeting, she said firmly. But on one condition, it happens here, on Earth. You've tested us, pushed us to our limits. Now it's our turn to show you who we truly are, on our own terms. The aliens seemed taken aback by this bold proposal. Krell's antennae twitched nervously, but Zix's eyes gleamed with what looked like admiration. Your courage is admirable. Dr. Reeves, Zix said. We will have to consult with our superiors, but I believe they will agree to your terms. You've more than proven yourselves worthy of such consideration. As the holographic aliens flickered out of existence, promising to return with an answer soon, the Global Response Center erupted into a flurry of activity. Plans needed to be made, security protocols established, and 1,000 other details attended to. But amid the chaos, Dr. Samantha Reeves stood still for a moment, the weight of what had just transpired settling on her shoulders. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger than ever. Now, they stood on the threshold of a new era, one that would redefine their place in the universe. As she turned to begin the monumental task of preparing Earth for its galactic debut, Samantha allowed herself a small smile. Whatever came next, she knew one thing for certain: humanity was ready. Tables turned. The weeks following the holographic first contact were a whirlwind of activity. Every nation on Earth mobilized its resources, putting aside long-standing rivalries in the face of this unprecedented situation. The United Nations, once often mired in bureaucracy, now moved with surprising speed and unity. Dr. Samantha Reeves found herself at the center of it all, coordinating efforts between scientists, diplomats, and world leaders. The Global Response Center had expanded rapidly, becoming a small city unto itself in the Gobi Desert. Dr. Reeves, a voice called out as Samantha strode through the bustling main concourse. She turned to see Dr. Yuki Tanaka jogging to catch up with her, tablet in hand. "What is it, Yuki?" Samantha asked, noting the excitement in her colleague's eyes. "We've made a breakthrough in decoding more of the alien transmission," Yuki said, her fingers flying across the tablet's surface. "There's so much more here than we initially realized." star charts, technological schematics, cultural databases. It's like they've given us a primer on galactic civilization. Samantha's eyes widened as she scanned the information. This is incredible, but why would they share so much? Perhaps it's a gesture of good faith, Yuki suggested. Or maybe they're preparing us for the meeting with their leaders. Before Samantha could respond, an alarm blared through the complex. Both women's heads snapped up, instantly alert. What now? Samantha muttered, already moving towards the central command center. As they burst into the room, they were met with a scene of controlled chaos. Screens flickered with incoming data, and the room buzzed with urgent conversations. Report, Samantha called out, her voice cutting through the noise. A young technician turned to her, his face pale. Dr. Reeves, we're detecting multiple objects entering Earth's atmosphere. They're not natural. Samantha's heart raced as she moved to the main display. Sure enough, dozens of unidentified objects were descending towards Earth's surface. Their trajectories were too controlled, too precise to be meteors or space debris. They're coming, she breathed, a mix of excitement and trepidation washing over her. The Galactic Confederation. They're actually coming. As the objects continued their descent, breaking up into smaller groups and heading towards different continents, Samantha turned to address the room. This is it, people. Everything we've been preparing for. Activate all protocols. I want every landing site monitored, every piece of data analyzed, and someone get me a direct line to the UN Security Council. We need to coordinate a global welcome party. As the room erupted into action, Samantha couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had come so far in such a short time. They had faced the unknown, adapted to seemingly impossible challenges, and now stood ready to take their place on the galactic stage. Meanwhile, high above the Earth, Zix and Krell watched the proceedings with a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. I still can't believe the High Council agreed to this, Krell chittered, his antennae twitching rapidly. A full delegation, making planetfall on an unintegrated world. It's unprecedented. Zix's four eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of agreement. These humans have a way of making the unprecedented happen, my friend. I think that's precisely why the Council is so interested. As they watched the Confederation ships begin their landing procedures, a new elder chimed on their console. Zix leaned in, his bioluminescence pulsing with surprise. Well, he murmured. It seems our human friends have been busy. They've decoded far more of our data packet than we anticipated. Krell moved to examine the readings, his own surprise evident. But how? The encryption should have taken them years to break through, even with the primer we provided. Zix's mouth parts twisted into what passed for a smile in his species. I think, Krell, we're about to learn that we've underestimated these humans for the last time. Back on Earth, the first of the alien ships touched down in a carefully prepared landing zone just outside the Global Response Center. As the dust settled, a hush fell over the assembled crowd of scientists, diplomats, and security personnel. With a hiss of equalizing pressure, a hatch on the sleek, silvery craft began to open. Dr. Samantha Reeves stood at the forefront of the welcoming committee, her heart pounding but her stance resolute. As the first alien figures emerged from the ship, gasps and murmurs rippled through the human observers. The newcomers were a diverse group, some bearing resemblance to Zix and Krell, others wildly different, a testament to the variety of life in the galaxy. One figure, taller than the rest and adorned with intricate, glowing patterns, stepped forward. When it spoke, its words were translated seamlessly by the advanced systems humans had rapidly developed based on the alien data. People of Earth, the alien intoned, its voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. I am High Counselor Zixax of the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace, seeking dialogue and understanding. Samantha took a deep breath and stepped forward. This was the moment everything had been leading up to, with the eyes of humanity. And now, the galaxy, upon her, she spoke. High Counselor Zixax, esteemed delegates of the Galactic Confederation, she began, her voice clear and strong. On behalf of humanity and all the nations of Earth, I bid you welcome to our world. As human and alien representatives began to mingle, the air thick with the excitement of first contact, Samantha caught sight of two familiar figures emerging from the ship, Zix and Krell. The alien researchers looked somewhat abashed, clearly unsure of their reception after their earlier tests. Samantha made her way over to them, a wry smile on her face. "Well, gentlemen," she said, "I believe we have a lot to discuss." Zix's bioluminescence flickered rapidly, a sign of nervousness, Samantha had learned. "Dr. Reeves," he began, "we owe you and your people an apology. Our methods were misguided." Samantha held up a hand. "Your methods pushed us to be better, to achieve things we never thought possible. But yes, we do need to have a serious conversation about research ethics." As the three of them turned to watch the historic meeting unfolding before them, Krell's antennae twitched thoughtfully. "You know," he said, "I have a feeling that the Galactic Confederation is about to learn as much from humanity as you'll learn from us." Samantha nodded, a determined glint in her eye. "That's the plan," she said. "After all, we humans have a saying. The best way to predict the future is to create it." As night fell on this most extraordinary of days, the skies above the Global Response Center were alight with the glow of alien ships and the twinkling of stars, stars that no longer seemed quite so distant or unreachable. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and the adventure was only just beginning. A new understanding. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, casting a golden glow across the makeshift alien embassy that had sprung up around the Global Response Center, Dr. Samantha Reeves found herself in a situation she could scarcely have imagined just months ago. She sat at a round table, flanked by world leaders on one side and alien dignitaries on the other, deep in negotiations that would shape the future of not just Earth, but potentially the entire galaxy. "So let me get this straight," Samantha said, her brow furrowed in concentration as she addressed High Counselor Zixax. "The Galactic Confederation has been observing developing worlds for millennia, guiding their evolution from afar, but you've never encountered a species quite like us before." Zixax's multifaceted eyes shimmered with what Samantha had come to recognize as a mix of excitement and concern. "That is correct, Dr. Reeves. Your species' rapid advancement, particularly in response to adversity, is unprecedented in our records. And that's why you're offering us this accelerated integration program." The President of the United States chimed in, her voice a mix of skepticism and intrigue. "Precisely," Zixax confirmed. "Typically, it would take centuries for a species to be considered for Confederation membership. But humanity has demonstrated capabilities that we believe could bring a unique perspective to our galactic community." As the implications of this offer sank in, Zix and Krell, who had been quietly observing from a corner of the room, exchanged meaningful glances. Their simple observation mission had inadvertently altered the course of galactic politics. Samantha leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. "This is an incredible opportunity," she began, choosing her words carefully. "But I have concerns. Your initial approach, the tests, the manufactured crisis, they caused real harm to our world. How can we be sure that full integration with your Confederation won't lead to further, unintended consequences?" A murmur of agreement rippled through the human contingent. Zixax's bioluminescent patterns shifted in what Samantha had learned to interpret as discomfort. "Your point is valid, Dr. Reeves," the alien leader conceded. "Our methods, while standard for our previous encounters, were clearly ill-suited to your species. It is precisely this kind of insight that we believe humanity can bring to the Confederation. Perhaps it is time for us to reevaluate our own protocols." This admission seemed to catch everyone off guard. The idea that this advanced alien civilization might learn from humanity was both flattering and somewhat terrifying. "High Counselor," Samantha said, leaning forward, I have a proposal. Instead of an accelerated integration, why don't we begin with a cultural exchange program? We'll send some of our best and brightest to learn from you. And in return, we'll host Confederation representatives here on Earth. We can learn from each other, grow together, before making any binding commitments. The room fell silent as everyone considered this suggestion. Zigzag's eyes darted between his fellow aliens, seeming to conduct a silent consultation. An intriguing proposal, Dr. Reeves, Zigzag finally responded. Unorthodox, by our standards, but then again, everything about our interaction with your species has been unorthodox. I believe the Confederation would be amenable to such an arrangement. As the meeting adjourned and the various parties began to disperse, Samantha found herself approached by Zix and Krell. Dr. Reeves, Zix began, his bioluminescence pulsing with what she now recognized as excitement. Your proposal was inspired. A true example of the human innovation that so fascinates us. Samantha couldn't help but smile. Well, you too played a part in inspiring it. Your tests taught us the importance of understanding before acting. I figured it was a lesson we could all benefit from. Krell's antennae twitched, and what Samantha had learned was amusement. It seems we have much to learn from each other. Perhaps we could volunteer to be part of this exchange program. I think that's an excellent idea, Samantha replied, her smile widening. After all, who better to help bridge our cultures than the ones who started this whole adventure? As they stood there, human and aliens alike gazing out over the bustling compound where Earth's future was being forged, Samantha felt a profound sense of optimism. The road ahead would undoubtedly be challenging, filled with misunderstandings and obstacles to overcome. But for the first time in human history, they were facing those challenges as part of something greater than themselves. You know, Samantha mused, almost to herself, there's an old saying on Earth, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. I think we've taken that step, and then some. Zix's four eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture Samantha had come to associate with agreement. Indeed, Dr. Reeves. And I, for one, am eager to see where this journey takes us all. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its light on humans and aliens working side by side, the promise of a new era dawned, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just survivors, but pioneers ready to take their place among the stars. The story of Earth and the Galactic Confederation was just beginning, and if the events of the past months were any indication, it promised to be an adventure unlike any the universe had seen before.